The US and Iran have been enemies since 1979. No diplomats, no trust, just decades of tension. Obama made a nuclear deal with Iran in 2015. It was meant to stop Iran from building a nuclear bomb. Trump called it the worst deal ever made. In 2018, he pulled America out completely. Trump then ordered a drone strike in Baghdad. Iran's top military general Soleimani was killed instantly. Iran fired missiles at U.S. bases in retaliation. The two countries nearly went to full-scale war. In 2024, Iran's President Raisi died in a helicopter crash. Thick fog caused his chopper to hit a mountain. Trump returned to power in 2025. With maximum pressure, he sent Khamenei a letter demanding a new deal. Talks began in Oman and Rome between both sides, but they collapsed when neither side would compromise. Israel then launched massive airstrikes on Iran's nuclear sites. America joined in and bombed 3 major facilities. On February 28, 2026, Khamenei was killed in an airstrike. U.S. intelligence helped Israel locate and target him directly. Iran's top generals and defense minister died in the same strikes. The entire Iranian military leadership was wiped out overnight. Trump called Khamenei one of history's worst human beings. Iran's president vowed revenge and called it an assassination. Russia and China condemned the strikes on international platforms. The United Nations said diplomacy had been completely destroyed. Iran launched missiles and drones at Israel and U.S. bases. Oil markets crashed, and global tensions reached a dangerous peak. Iran has no supreme leader confirmed as of today. A temporary council is currently running the entire country. The nuclear program status remains completely unclear right now. Risk of a wider Middle East war is very real. Decades of broken deals and assassinations brought us here. Nobody knows yet how this dangerous situation will end. Trump and Iran have a long history. It started long before the nuclear deal. Iran has wanted nuclear power for decades. America always feared Iran building a bomb. Obama spent years negotiating with Iran directly. In 2015, a historic agreement was signed. It was called the JCPOA nuclear deal. Iran agreed to limit its nuclear program. International inspectors were allowed inside Iranian facilities. Uranium enrichment was capped at very low levels. In return, America lifted its heavy sanctions. Iran's economy started breathing again after years. Europe, Russia, and China also signed it. It was a rare moment of diplomacy. The world saw it as a breakthrough. Many called it Obama's greatest foreign policy win. But Donald Trump had a very different view. He called it the worst deal ever. Trump said it only delayed Iran's nuclear ambitions. He believed Iran was cheating behind closed doors. Trump argued the deal had major flaws. It did not cover Iran's missile program. It also ignored Iran's regional military activities. Trump said America got nothing real in return. In his 2016 campaign, Trump made a promise. He told voters he would cancel it. Millions of Americans agreed with Trump's position strongly. They believed Obama gave Iran too much. On May 8, 2018, Trump made his move. He officially withdrew America from the nuclear deal. He stood in the White House and announced America would no longer honor the agreement signed. Trump immediately reimposed the harshest economic sanctions possible. Iranian oil exports were targeted and cut off. Iranian banks were cut off from global systems. Iran's currency lost most of its value overnight. Iran's economy went into a deep crisis immediately. Ordinarians suffered the most from these sanctions. Unemployment rose and prices of goods skyrocketed fast. People struggled to afford basic food and medicine. Iran warned America this decision would have consequences. Tehran said it would restart uranium enrichment soon. Iran began slowly breaking the deal's agreed limits. Each month, Iran enriched more uranium than allowed. European countries tried desperately to save the deal. Britain, France, and Germany all urged Iran to stay. They created a special payment system called airstrikes. It was designed to help Iran bypass U.S. sanctions. But the system never worked the way planned. Iran said Europe was not doing nearly enough. The deal was slowly dying from the inside. By 2020, Iran was enriching uranium at high levels. Iran crossed every red line set in 2015. Enriched meant reached 60%, which is dangerously high. Weapons-grade uranium only requires 90% enrichment level. Iran was now closer to a bomb than ever. Trump's withdrawal created a chain reaction with no end. Every action pushed both sides further apart permanently. The trust that Obama built was completely destroyed. A new path toward conflict had been firmly opened. Ebrahim Raisi was Iran's very powerful president. He was known as a hardline religious figure. Many called him the Butcher of Tehran. He ordered executions of thousands in 1988 massacres. Raisi came to power in June 2021. He won Iran's presidential election quite easily, but many Iranians refused to even vote. They said the election was already fixed. Raisi was very close to Supreme Leader Khamenei. He followed every order without any question. Many analysts believed Khamenei trusted him completely. Raisi was seen as his likely successor. He was strict conservative with zero tolerance. Women's rights were crushed under his presidency. In 2022, Mahsa Amini died in police custody. She was arrested for not wearing hijab properly. Her death sparked massive protests across Iran. Millions of Iranians took to the streets. Raisi ordered a brutal crackdown on protesters. Hundreds were killed and thousands were arrested. The world condemned Iran's violent response strongly, but Raisi did not care about criticism. He continued crushing the protest movement completely. His government became more isolated from the world. Despite protests, Raisi kept pushing Iran's nuclear program. He refused any meaningful negotiations with the West. He said Iran would never abandon uranium enrichment. America and Europe grew increasingly frustrated with him. On May 19, 2024, Raisi had a trip. He visited the Iran-Azerbaijan border area. A new dam was being inaugurated that day. It was a joint project with Azerbaijan officially. After the ceremony, Raisi boarded his helicopter quickly. He was heading back to Tabriz city directly. 3 helicopters were flying together in a convoy. His was a Bell 212 aging aircraft model. The weather suddenly turned extremely dangerous and unpredictable. Thick fog rolled in across the mountains fast. Visibility dropped to almost zero within minutes completely. The pilots could barely see anything around them. The 2 other helicopters landed safely without problems, but Raisi's helicopter completely lost contact with everyone. Rescue teams were immediately deployed to search mountains. Hundreds of people searched through the dark night. Iran's Revolutionary Guards launched a massive search operation. Drones were sent out, but fog blocked everything. Turkish drones with thermal cameras finally found the crash. The wreckage was discovered early next morning at dawn. The helicopter had crashed into a dense forest. It hit the mountain at very high speed. There were no survivors found at the crash site. Raisi and all passengers were killed on impact. Iran's Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdullahian also died there. He was one of Iran's most senior diplomats. Several other senior officials also perished. The crash. It was Iran's biggest leadership loss in years. The news shocked the entire world immediately. Even Iran's enemies expressed some words of condolence, but many Iranians inside the country quietly celebrated. They remembered the thousands he had killed before. Raisi had been expected to replace Khamenei soon. His death created a massive vacuum in leadership. Iran now had to find a new direction. The future of Iranian leadership became deeply uncertain. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei ruled Iran for decades long. He took power after Ayatollah Khamenei died in 1989. For 35 years he controlled everything in Iran. No major decision was made without his approval. Khamenei was not just a political leader either. He was Iran's supreme leader above everything else. In Iran's system, the supreme leader outranks everyone. Even the president must follow his direct orders. He controlled Iran's military and nuclear program completely. The Revolutionary Guards reported directly to him always. He approved every major military operation personally himself. Iran's foreign policy was entirely his personal vision. Khamenei deeply hated America with passionate intensity always. He called America the Great Satan publicly always. He also called Israel a cancerous tumor regularly. These were not just words but actual policy. He funded Hezbollah in Lebanon for many years. He supported Hamas in Gaza with weapons directly. He backed Houthi rebels in Yemen consistently too. His goal was surrounding Israel with armed enemies. After Raisi died in 2024, everything shifted dramatically. Khamenei was already very old and visibly weak. He was 85 years old and appeared frail. Many wondered how long he could actually continue. Iran's nuclear program kept advancing despite all pressure. By 2025, Iran had enriched uranium to 60%. Weapons grade requires only 90% enrichment level. Iran was dangerously close to having a bomb. Trump returned to power in January 2025, determined. He immediately launched his maximum pressure campaign again. He sent Khamenei a personal letter with deadline. Trump gave Iran 60 days to negotiate seriously. Talks began in Oman in April 2025. Cautiously, both sides met secretly for several rounds quietly. There was brief hope that a deal possible, but Iran refused to give up enrichment completely. By June 2025, all negotiations had completely collapsed. Neither side trusted the other even slightly anymore. Trump then gave Israel the green light officially. Israel had been waiting for this moment long. Israel launched massive coordinated airstrikes across Iran suddenly. They targeted nuclear facilities buried deep underground specifically. Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan were all hit hard. Iran's nuclear program was severely damaged in hours. America then joined the strikes with heavy bombers. B-2 stealth bombers dropped massive bunker buster bombs. 3 of Iran's most critical sites were destroyed. It was the largest strike on Iran ever. Iran retaliated immediately with missiles toward Israel directly. Hezbollah fired rockets from Lebanon simultaneously. That night, Houthis launched drones toward U.S. ships in region. The entire Middle East was now fully ablaze, but America and Israel were not finished yet. They had one final and most critical target. Intelligence agencies had been tracking Khamenei's movements carefully. CIA had informants deep inside Iranian security circles. On February 28, 2026, the moment finally arrived. Israeli jets conducted a precise strike near Tehran. The target was a secret underground command bunker. Khamenei was inside holding an emergency military meeting. The bombs penetrated deep into the reinforced bunker. There was no chance of survival for anyone. Khamenei was killed along with his top command. Iran's defense minister also died in same strike. The head of Revolutionary Guards was killed too. Iran's entire top military leadership was wiped out. It happened so fast, Iran could not react. The operation was surgical, precise, and completely devastating. Israel confirmed the strike within hours, publicly, proudly. America acknowledged its intelligence role shortly after that. Trump went on Truth Social and posted immediately. He said the world was now much safer. Iran's government fell into immediate shock and chaos. State television went silent for several hours straight. Then they confirmed Khamenei had been martyred officially. The word martyr was used very deliberately, always. Khamenei's death left Iran without clear leadership immediately. No supreme leader had ever been killed before. Iran's constitution had no real plan for this. The entire system was suddenly thrown into chaos. Iran's constitution does have a backup plan, theoretically. The Assembly of Experts must choose a replacement. This assembly has 88 senior religious scholars inside. They are supposed to meet and decide quickly. But the Assembly of Experts had a problem. Many of its senior members were also killed. The airstrikes had targeted Iran's entire leadership deliberately. Choosing a new supreme leader became extremely complicated fast. A temporary leadership council was quickly formed instead. 3 senior figures were put in charge officially. President Pezeshkian was one of the 3 members, but none of them had Khamenei's religious authority. In Iran's system, religious authority means absolute everything. Without a qualified supreme leader, the system weakens. Military commanders start making their own independent decisions. The Revolutionary Guards became a law unto themselves. The Revolutionary Guards are in resonance of powerful force. They control missiles, nuclear sites, and proxy armies. After Khamenei died, they answered to nobody directly. Some commanders started taking actions without any authorization. Iran launched massive retaliatory strikes almost immediately after. Hundreds of missiles were fired toward Israel directly. U.S. military bases in Iraq were also targeted. Qatar's Al Udeid base received several drone strikes. The Strait of Hormuz was partially blocked suddenly. Iran threatened to close it completely very soon. 20% of world's oil passes through there. Global oil prices jumped 30% within days. Stock markets around the world dropped sharply immediately. Investors panicked as war fears spread everywhere fast. Gold prices hit record highs within 48 hours. The global economy felt the shockwave almost instantly. America responded with more airstrikes inside Iran quickly. U.S. Navy carriers in Persian Gulf launched jets. Additional Iranian military targets were destroyed within days. Iran's air defense systems were systematically taken out. Israel continued striking Hezbollah in Lebanon simultaneously too. Hezbollah had lost much of its leadership already. Hassan Nasrallah had been killed months before this. Hezbollah was weakened, but still firing rockets north. Hamas in Gaza was already nearly completely destroyed. Houthis in Yemen kept launching drones and missiles. Iran's entire proxy network was under massive pressure. The axis of resistance was crumbling from inside. Inside Iran, the situation became deeply complicated quickly. Some Iranians took to streets mourning Khamenei publicly, but millions of others quietly celebrated his death. Decades of oppression had created deep internal divisions. Women who had been forced to wear hijab appeared. Some removed their headscarves in public, openly defiantly. Young Iranians chanted in streets for real freedom. The regime struggled to control its own population. Security forces cracked down hard on any protests. Arrests were made across Tehran and other cities. But the fear that once silenced people was gone. Something fundamental had shifted inside Iranian society permanently. The nuclear program's current status remains deeply unclear. Some facilities were destroyed in the American strikes, but Iran had hidden backup sites nobody knew. Experts believe some enriched uranium still exists somewhere. The question of who controls that uranium is critical. Revolutionary Guards commanders may have secured it secretly. A rogue commander with nuclear material is extremely dangerous. This scenario worries American and Israeli officials most. The Assembly of Experts has still not decided. Several names have been proposed but none confirmed. Each candidate faces opposition from different powerful factions. Iran's clerical establishment is deeply divided right now. Some want a moderate leader to end isolation. Others want someone even more hardline than Khamenei. The Revolutionary Guards want someone they can control. Ordinary Iranians want someone who will bring relief. Russia and China are watching very carefully now. Both countries had strong economic ties with Iran. China bought most of Iran's sanctioned oil secretly. Russia used Iran's drones in its Ukraine war. Both Moscow and Beijing condemned the American strikes loudly. They called it a violation of international law. China called for an emergency UN Security Council meeting. Russia threatened unspecified consequences for American aggression there. The United Nations finds itself completely powerless right now. America and Israel ignored all international warnings completely. The UN Security Council is paralyzed as always. Russia and China vetoed every resolution proposed against Iran. Arab countries in the region are deeply nervous. Saudi Arabia quietly supported action against Iran secretly. But publicly, Riyadh called for immediate ceasefire urgently. Nobody in the region wants full regional war. Pakistan and Turkey called for diplomatic solutions publicly. Both countries have large populations watching events closely. Anti-American sentiment is rising across Muslim world fast. Protests have erupted in dozens of countries worldwide. The situation on ground changes almost every single day. New strikes, new retaliations, new statements keep coming. No ceasefire agreement has been reached. As yet, no negotiating table has been set up yet.